once it got dark, we felt like we need to obey the law. We don't need to be here after it's illegal to be here. So we packed up and we headed back. And yeah, I wasn't, I guess, another thing that took me by surprise was I wasn't really prepared for the people who would be critical of that. There was people who accused us of trying to become famous. I'm clearly not famous at this point. I have no intention of that. That was not the goal. There was people who, said that we were communist because to say Black Lives Matter is a communist thing. There was people who said that we were supporting the movement, and the movement was bad, and then there was people who were saying we were supporting the police, and the police were bad, and truthfully, we were supporting Jesus and trying to help others, and that was like our entire goal. That was it. And so the fallout from that was, some people were really upset, and I did my best to explain to them my heart, my goal. Some people, were happy about it, but we just didn't do it for those reasons. So that stuff really didn't affect us, I think, as much as people thought it would affect us. People calling, "We're not in your church anymore." I'm like, well, okay, this isn't really your church then, like we're down here trying to share the gospel with people, and if that bothers you, the church in the wild, I mean, the name itself says it's probably not for you then, and so it didn't bother us as much as we thought. Then I think we had service the next day. We spent a long time praying. And then I went back on Monday. There was some protest. And so I went down, Living Hope Church in Marysville gave me 100 Bibles. So I filled this backpack full of Bibles and parked and walked and started passing out Bibles. What was kind of crazy was, as soon as I parked, a lady from the news walked up to me and said, "Hey, can I follow you?" And I was like, sure, like, yeah, if you want, I mean, sure. So this lady followed me, and I went to this protest, and what people don't see, because the Columbus Dispatch, if you don't know, Columbus Dispatch put a picture of me praying with the protesters, and people got really mad. Oh man, people got mad. But what people didn't see, there's always more to the story. What people did not see was for 45 minutes before that, I went to every police officer I found, gave them a Bible, and prayed with them as well. And that didn't get put out there. So, but it happened. And so I prayed with all of these police officers, and then I went to where the protest was and prayed with some of the protesters. And at some point, a lady came up to the guy running the protest and said, "Hey, this guy is a pastor." And what was so sad, probably the saddest thing is that there wasn't more Christians. And I kept getting this thing like, wait, you're a Christian and you're here? We didn't think Christians cared about people. And it just blew my mind. I could not fathom that the church has done such a poor job. I mean, the church has failed. Like, the church failed the inner city of Columbus. That much is very clear. But the church has failed in a broader scale, in the sense that people just think that the church doesn't care. And the church should be the ones who are known for caring. And so he then said, "Hey, listen, will you kneel with us when we kneel, when we take a knee?" And I said, "Well, I kneel when I pray. I'll pray." And so he handed me his megaphone. He wanted me to pray in the middle of 23, and I was like, I think that might be causing a traffic disturbance. I'm not trying to break the law. I'm just trying to love people. And so I kneeled just on the corner of it. And I think I was just on the street. And I started praying. And was able to pray, was able to share the gospel in that prayer, was able to talk about Jesus, and was able to just ask God for healing and for peace and for justice and all those things in that prayer. And then the protest moved up towards the Capitol building, and there started to be like these speeches by people, and they started to get more and more animated, and it started to get pretty hostile. And in the middle of that, there was like hundreds of people gathered, and I looked over and saw a young guy sitting on the ground, and he was just crying. And so I went over to him, and I started like just praying with him and started talking to him, and he just started explaining to his life and how he just wanted to be viewed as a human, and how he'd been, you know, hurt and abused and called certain words his whole life. And he said, like, I don't want to, you know, I'm not here to cause problems. And I said, what can I do? Like, I just kept asking him, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do for you? And I genuinely did not know that at this point, because we had our heads down and we were praying and we were talking. I didn't know that other people had gathered around us. And I also didn't realize that there was news cameras that had gathered around them. Because here's this middle-aged white guy praying with a young African-American, and so it was, I didn't realize that moment, what was happening. And so I asked him, like, hey, what can I do, man? Like, and he said, I just want a hug. And that just blew my mind. Like, it genuinely blew my mind that that's what he wanted. He just wanted to be treated equally and get this and have someone tell them that they cared. And so we hugged, and I was bawling and he was crying, and I kept telling him, like, man, I'm so sorry. Like, I wish I had done more earlier, you know. And we prayed for a while. We hugged for a long time. Other people started kind of praying and hugging, and in the middle of all of this anger, there ended up being this circle of people praying. Which caused some people to get upset. So they moved around us and kind of went up to the steps of the State House and started challenging the police officers to come down. This is over a long period of time, but challenging them to come down or threatening to go up on the stairs. And it started to get really hostile. There was starting to be words, and all of a sudden this young girl, I don't know her name, I wish I did. I would love to meet her. If anyone knows this girl, she's a Christian girl. I don't even know what church or where she came from, but this young girl got a megaphone and just started talking about how Jesus is the answer. People started booing her. People started trying to silence her, but girl just kept going. And she asked, like, you know, hey, can we pray? And so a bunch of us prayed together, and we kind of got in between, and we all started praying. And the group, it's just amazing. The group of people praying started to grow like this way, deep. And so the people who were angry just had to keep like go back or go around them. And so for a while, for probably 25 minutes, there was this big group of believers just praying and singing and holding hands. I know is a pandemic. I know we weren't supposed to do that, but holding hands and singing and praying just in the middle of all of this. And so we finished the prayer, and the protest started to go like around the building. It was really powerful to see the prayer just put up like this stop to the anger that was the hate, the violence that was about to occur. It stopped that, and instead a protest continued, which was great. And just before that, when all of that like hatred was going on, and there was all these things being said back and forth, I got so overwhelmed again, like I did Saturday, that I just fell down and started praying, and I put my face to the ground. And that was when the Columbus Dispatch took this picture and said, this Pastor Jason Williams, he's praying, and it was not intended by me to be like a thing. I didn't know who was around. I didn't realize that there was cameras. I didn't know any of that. I just genuinely felt like, man, I need to pray so bad for this place. So I put my face on the concrete or on the marble. I put my forehead, and it was just like my way of saying, like, God, take control of this place. And then I got up and went and prayed with this lady and all these other people. And then finally the protest kind of just went, and they started walking around the square of the State House, and the violence was stopped. And I think it was a miracle. I think God did that. I think that it would have been a lot worse just based off of where I was. I did manage to give out the Bibles. A lot of people took them and were